We have to stop sales immediately. The moment those words hit my ears, it felt as though the world had suddenly shifted off its axis. The air around me seemed to go thick and suffocating, as if an invisible hand were pressing down on my chest. My mouth went dry, the words I wanted to say sticking to the back of my throat, unable to find their way out. This couldn't be happening. This was my reward. I had spent the last 6 months locked in my office creating the most amazing client journey in our industry. One that was the perfect combination of over-delivering on client results and a tell your friends about it client experience. In case you don't know, a client journey is pretty much everything your client experiences and receives from when they pay you money to when they stop working with you. These include onboarding calls, support modalities, what they have to do versus what you have to do, etc., etc., etc. And we went all out. Bottles of champagne to celebrate our clients' birthdays, unlimited one-on-one support, 24/7 access to me and my team. Our scope of work went from a few lines on our proposal to over 2 pages. We were pretty much just building our clients' businesses for them. And honestly, it worked really well. Our clients loved us. We were offering what nobody else was. We received more client testimonials, increased our client success rate, lowered our time to value, increased our repeat buyers and number of referrals, and I had never been more proud to sell anything in my entire life. That is, of course, until I couldn't sell it anymore. We have to stop sales immediately. My client success director shared this bitter piece of news with us and our entire leadership team one fateful Friday. It seemed that in a quest to create such a world-class client journey, we lost sight of the risks involved. This level of delivery comes with a lot of costs, both mentally and economically. The number of clients our client success managers could manage dropped by 200%. The amount of time our client success managers were spending with our clients increased by 300%, time that I'm paying for. Our client expectations grew so large that our client success team seemed to always be playing catch up, which can be incredibly mentally draining. The biggest risk that I didn't see, which I do now, is that we had absolutely no leverage. Our entire service delivery was on the back of our client success managers. And if there's one thing that I have learned, it's to not put all of your eggs in one basket, especially if that basket is as unpredictable, inconsistent, and limited as human beings. And we were about to pay the price. It is my sincere hope that you never have to halt sales in your company or future company, but if you do, let me walk you through just a few of the consequences I experienced. Number 1, all the momentum I had came to a screeching halt. Number 2, your monthly payroll costs, for me about $250,000 a month, had to be paid with whatever cash I had on hand immediately. Number 3, your employees that are reliant on new sales to get paid, salespeople, appointment setters, etc., start to get antsy as their personal income comes screeching to a halt. And you, as a CEO, have to deal with all of these secondary consequences while also trying to identify and solve the primary problem that got you there in the first place. Sounds like a lot of fun, doesn't it? Once I started asking around, I was shocked to learn that so many of my friends and clients had similar experiences. So my goal here, dear viewer, is to prevent you from having to experience this yourself. I'm going to show you how to productize your services, allowing you to sell to more customers, keep them longer, get them better results, and be more profitable than ever before. If you don't know who I am, my name is Ravi Abuvala. I'm this systems guy who builds marketing and sales systems for some of the largest names in our industry. Over the past 4 years, we've worked with over 2,000 clients and generated over $25 million in sales for our company. Our mission is to help you build a business that serves you instead of you serving it. First, I'm going to explain what productizing your services means and why it's important. Then I'll show you the step-by-step process we implement with clients so you can do it yourself. Simply put, productizing your services involves turning your service-based offerings into standardized packaged products. This means defining clear outcomes, processes, and pricing, making it easier for prospects to understand and buy your services, as well as see results in a predictable, scalable manner. Instead of creating a unique solution for every buyer, you create the same solution applicable to all of your buyers. Now compare that to most consulting or service-based offerings today. Almost always there's no clear or direct outcome. The process is reliant on the founder or a few key team members. The proposal and pricing are custom for the work, and it's very easy for scope creep to take place, which is where you start doing one thing for a client and end up doing 10 different things for them. Let me illustrate how this works with a continuum of products and services. services. On the left-hand side here, you have products. On the right, you have services. And then in the middle, you have productized services like I was talking about earlier. So let me show you the differences in each of these, and I'm going to give you exact examples, and I'll finish with how to productize your services. So on the left-hand side, products. Well, products are typically inexpensive, right? So typically when someone is buying them or producing them, they're very inexpensive. These are little gizmos, gadgets, one-off things, $7, $37, $97. You get the idea, right? The second thing about products is that they are a commodity, right? And a commodity essentially means that there's not a whole lot of value in the product itself. It's very easy to copy it. Somebody else can make a remake of it in 10 minutes and sell it for $10 less, something along those lines, and people don't hold it with a whole lot of high esteem or regard. The third thing about products is that they are tangible. Now, tangible essentially means that they know exactly what people are buying. They can see it and feel it, what they're getting. The benefit of tangible products is that it's actually easier to sell products than it is to sell services, right? Because if I was to say, hey, here's this Ferrari, or hey, I'll help you grow your business, you can actually see, feel, and drive the Ferrari, where you don't exactly know maybe what I'm going to help you do to grow your business if I was just a service-based offering, right? The other thing about products is that typically it goes from production to consumption, which I'll talk about the difference of that in services in a second, but typically you spend some time upfront producing something, and then you go out there and you sell it to as many people as possible, which actually brings to the next point, which is that this requires typically upfront capital, okay? So when you're creating a product, like when I first started online, I wanted to do e-commerce. Typically, you have to go and invest capital in research and development, creating these products, putting them in a warehouse, et cetera, et cetera. And so you typically have to spend some time and money upfront building it, producing it, and then people go out there and actually consume it. The other benefit about products, I would say, is that you can have control over quality. So this is something that if you have some kind of consulting or service-based offer, you'll know. But it is kind of difficult to control quality as you scale unless you productize your services, because with services, you're typically relying on people instead of relying on things or tangible things. Now, I'm going to talk about how we can be relying on systems instead. But the idea behind it with products is that you know whether that Ferrari is working or not working when it comes off the line. You're going to have more difficulty understanding that when it comes to services, okay? Now, we're going to go to the final thing here, which is that it's typically lower margin. Now that kind of comes in with the first thing here, which is that it's inexpensive. Typically, if it's inexpensive to create, it's going to be inexpensive to sell, and in that instance, it's going to be low margin, right? I know a lot of e-commerce or Shopify people, they talk about making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a month, but really their take home is like 10%, maybe 15%. Where on the flip side, on services, it could be 80%, 90%, right? So let's do that now. Let's talk about services. So for services, it's typically going to be more expensive, right? Both more expensive in order to deliver on, because you're typically doing work for people, and also expensive for the end user. So we're not talking about $37 or $97 anymore. You could be talking about a few hundred, a few thousand, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars on the services side. The other thing is that instead of a commodity, this is more customized, right? So instead of when you're having somebody coming in and you're saying, hey, here's the Ferrari, you're saying, hey, what kind of car do you want me to build, right? This is more customized for what the person wants. The other thing about it is that it's intangible, right? So you can see there's a lot of opposites of what I'm talking about with products here. So intangible means that it's really difficult to say what you're selling in the first place, right? And along with that, it's harder to sell. So it's always harder to sell anytime you're doing services than a product, because you're trying to pretty much paint in the client or the prospect's eye, their mind eye, what they're getting whenever they're buying from you, which is difficult to do when it's intangible versus like, here's the thing that you actually get. The other thing about services, this is kind of cool. Production equals consumption, right? So what this means is that when somebody is, when you're actually doing the work, you're producing the thing that you're going to sell, that is, they're receiving that benefit. So production equals consumption. And because of that, it doesn't require upfront capital. We'll just put no upfront capital, right? This is why I think that services are a great initial offering for people, because you don't have to spend a lot of money upfront to get started. You literally are just trading your time, because people are paying for your time. So you give them an hour of your time, they're paying you for an hour of your time. That's why production equals consumption in that example there. And the final thing I'll say here is that it's high margin, right? So typically you're going to have these at higher margins, even though it's expensive, and it's more expensive to produce than a product because you have to typically pay for people's time or your own time. It's still going to be more profitable than a product because it's more customized, thus more expensive. So you're talking about maybe 80, 90% profit margins versus on a product you're going to have, let's say 10 to 15% profit margins. Okay. So then let's talk about productized services. In my opinion, productized services kind of take the best of both of these here. So in productized services, you're dealing with competitive pricing. So you get the benefits of being able to have higher charging, higher prices, because you are doing some custom work for them. I'm going to talk about that in a moment, but you are doing some custom work. And so you are going to be, it's going to be more expensive than you said, oh, here's this thing, go figure it out on your own. But at the same, in the same breath, you're also cheaper than them going and paying somebody to do it all done for them or all through some kind of service-based work. The second thing that I will say is that it's a customized commodity. So this is kind of the best of both worlds, commodity, in the sense that they're getting essentially what is the same thing over and over again like a product, but then you're tweaking a few things here or there to make it specific for that person, which I'm going to give you an example here in a moment. I know that it might be hard to conceptualize. Just deal with me for a second. The other thing is that typically productized services are more tangible. So ironically enough, whenever we switched to productized services, not only did it make it easier for us to fulfill for our clients, but it started to make it easier for us to sell to our clients, because we were able to say, hey, this is exactly what you're getting from A to Z by working with us. This is the outcome you're getting. This is the timeline, et cetera, et cetera. So it became more tangible. So I got the benefit of the product tangibility, but still the pricing of the service side of things and the easiness of the product side of things to sell. The other thing is that there's going to be more control over quality. So one thing, like I talked about earlier, over quality, is that as you scale service-based offerings, you're hiring more team members, you're relying on human beings, and it becomes difficult for you to make sure every single person's getting the same level of experience that you would have given them if you were helping them. Now, instead, if you're relying on products to help you out, to support your services, then you can make sure that a lot of it would be the exact same thing because it's a product versus some kind of custom service, right? Upfront capital is not typically required for productized services. Now, that's not always the case. It depends if you're like... not required. Depends if you're doing an online kind of productized service or an in-person one, but most of the time, upfront capital is not going to be required, and it is, like I said earlier, easier to sell, which is amazing, and it's going to be higher margin. Okay, so hopefully you're with me here on the difference between product services and productized services. And so the goal here is that if you are on the spectrum, let's say on the product side, you want to move closer to the productized services side, and if you're on the spectrum of the services side, you want to move closer to the productized services side. Okay. So with that being said, let me give you two examples. I'm going to give you one basic example to maybe help people that don't necessarily have a business yet, something like that. And then I'm going to give you one more advanced example for people that are in business already. So a basic example we're going to use is going to be exercise, right? So somebody wants to work out. They really have three options. The first is they're going to go like kind of buy do-it-yourself at-home equipment like dumbbells. We're going to just put dumbbells here. Okay. And maybe I will change the color so it makes it easier for you to see this. Let's see, what color will I do? Hopefully we'll do red. So let's say dumbbells, okay? So dumbbells is a product. They go there, they pick it up, they buy it. It's inexpensive. It's a commodity. You could buy 10 million different types of dumbbells from 10 million different companies. You know what you're buying. You go to the store. They don't have to sell you hard on it. And all of the other things I talked about before. They produce it before you bought it, et cetera, et cetera. Then on the services side of things, this would be like, let's say personal training, right? So this is where I see this at my gym all the time. You have somebody who's literally working from 6 a.m. in the morning to 7 p.m. at night, every hour, a new client, one, boom, 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 right? So they're trading essentially their time for their money. And those sessions are kind of expensive because like that's an hourly rate by somebody. It's very customized to, do you have an injury? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to gain weight? But it's a little bit intangible. When someone goes to them and they say, hey, I want to get in shape, they're like, oh, I'll help you get in shape. Sign up for these personal training sessions. But what exactly are we losing? 10 pounds, 15 pounds, right? So you can see how that's a service. Now, productized services, and this is one of my favorite examples and something that I use pretty frequently is the Peloton. And I actually love this company. They're not sponsoring this video, but I always just like appreciate good products and services. I appreciate productized services. And they've done a really beautiful thing here because they've taken what was kind of like a craze and something that was really excited, like group classes and cycling, and they made it into a product that you could do at home. So it's the kind of the personal training aspect of having somebody coach you and help you out and let's go, push harder and get more out of you, while at the same time not involving one-on-one hourly work by people, and instead using the benefits of this machine that you just buy one time, put it inside your house, and then you can select what program that you want, right? And if you don't have a Peloton, that's essentially what happens. You buy the Peloton one time, you know exactly what you're buying, and then on there, there's like, let's say like a little display, like an iPad, and you're choosing, okay, what kind of workout do I want to do? Am I losing weight? Am I gaining muscle? How long do I want to do it? And then these people, like personal trainers, are on there pre-recorded, and they're saying, okay, great, let's go, stand up, sit down, cycle this speed, cycle that speed, add this resistance, right? And so by doing that, it feels like you're getting that personal training aspect of it, even though it's pre-recorded, or they'll do like small group sessions with people, right? So that's a really easy example that I hope drives the point home, because Peloton is absolutely crushing it right now. They are destroying it, and they don't have to deal with all of the, they might have, I don't know, let's say 10 trainers that they use inside those classes in order to teach other people that are on the Peloton bikes, and they just do different classes every single day. If you compare the 10 trainers they have to how many people are doing a Peloton class at a given time, it's unbelievable, right? They would need millions of trainers to do the amount of classes, personal training that they're doing currently, but they're able to do it because they productize their services, okay? So that's one example. Now let's go kind of back to the consulting coaching world, and hopefully you're kind of understanding what I'm saying here. So a product in the consulting services coaching world would essentially be like a do-it-yourself product, okay? So this would be like a one-off. You buy a course, it's $7, $37, $97, $9.97, and you're just saying, hey, here's all of the course material and templates and PDFs that you need. You buy it one time, you download it, you implement the stuff that you want, right? And like I said, and it's inexpensive, but it would be very easy for somebody just to watch that, copy it, and then sell the exact same course. So it's a commodity. You know what you're getting, so it's tangible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. On the other hand side of things, services, this is going to be incredibly customized, done for you work, right? So this could be agencies, right? That's a great example of this as well, or even like one-on-one consulting, one-on-one, I'll just put there. So those are great examples of services, because in that example, you are doing, everybody that's coming on board, you're saying like, great, I'm going to do all this work for you. Don't worry, you don't lift a finger, but it's going to be $15,000 a month or something along those lines. And sure, you can sell a lot of people at that, but not a lot of people can afford that. If you're really trying to scale, it's difficult to sell at $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, because obviously not a lot of businesses are there. And then if you do start scaling, you run into the issue that I ran into at one point, which was like, it's very difficult to scale with people when you're saying, hey, we'll do all this work for you. And so they're like, okay, great. And then you're trying to essentially sell people's time as you scale, which you lose control over quality, et cetera, et cetera. So instead, you kind of want to do, I call it the hybrid offer over here. I'll just put a hybrid offer. Right? And I have a different video that I go more in depth on with the hybrid offer, but the hybrid offer uses elements of do it yourself, uses elements of done with you, and uses elements of done for you. And I'm going to talk about how you choose what these are in a moment, but a hybrid offer would be where you're saying, great, I'm helping you lose weight, and so I'm going to give you these this custom nutritional plan that I'm using ChatGPT to create for you. It takes me 2 seconds, or you can do it on your own. So that's kind of do it yourself. And then I'm going to get on one call a week personally with you to see your progress. So that's done for you. And then there's also a app where you can respond back in good questions at any time about what you need. And so that's going to be more done with you side of things there. So the hybrid offer combines the elements of all three of those things together. And that's exactly what we do at Scaling with Systems, because the benefit of that is that we went from charging a lot more money to less, because we were doing the elements for our clients that needed to be done. And we were letting our clients do the simple, easy things that we didn't have to pay people for. And thus we were able to pass those savings on to our clients. So let me kind of drive that point home here. with an example of how you're going to create and productize your own services. So when you are trying to productize your services, hopefully at this point you understand you need to be doing this and you're like, okay, Ravi, this all makes total sense, but how exactly do I productize my services? Well, I break it down really in 4 steps. Obviously, we go way more in depth for our clients to help them do it, but just for this video, I'm going to make it super simple. We break it down into 4 easy steps. So the first step is going to be we strip down. Now, this is not dirty, so get your mind out of the gutter, but essentially what I've noticed is most clients that come to work for me, they're all service-based offerings in one way or the other, and they're typically have started offering this one thing for the clients, but then that scope creep kind of kicks in, and they end up offering 2 things, and then 3 things, and then 5 things, and then 10 things, and by the time they get to us, they're offering 10 things for different clients, each with a different variation of it, and they're almost unable to scale. It's impossible to sell, and it's impossible to fulfill. So what we like to do is we go back and we kind of go back to our best clients that we've had so far, and we identify what were they buying, right? Look at when people are booking a call with you to speak with you or your sales team, look at what they're putting in the application. That's why we always put open-ended questions in the application for people to book calls with us, like, hey, what are you looking for out of this call, or something along those lines, because we want to hear in the prospect's own words what they're looking for. What are they buying, right? And then also look at what your clients that are seeing the most results, what are they getting? Which one of those 10 different things that you're doing for them is actually moving the needle forward? And you can combine both of those things to figure out what is it that people actually want, and that's actually getting them results. I'll kind of drive this point home by giving you a story. Back a few years ago, I started my online journey by creating an advertising agency. We served real estate agents in North America. When I first started, I was working with real estate clients, and in order to close as many clients as possible, I was offering as much stuff as I could. So I did custom website work for them. I did social media profile optimization for them. Then I did social media posting for them. I ran Facebook ads for them. I created a custom 60-day email sequence after someone became a lead in order for them to turn into a buyer, and a bunch of other stuff. I would have walked their dog if they asked me to do it. But then when I looked back after like 3 or 4 months and I was trying to figure out what was working for our clients and what was not working for our clients, what actually drove the needle forward, what I realized was that the main thing that made the difference was literally just running ads and calling those people as soon as possible, as soon as they came in. That was the thing that determined whether people were turning into customers or buyers or not. So what I did is I stripped away everything else, and then I optimized those 2 things. I created a campaign that I knew would work running ads, and then I worked with a call center who called, email, and texted those leads 12 times in 5 days to turn them from leads into buyers so that my clients didn't have to do that themselves, and I could almost guarantee results. So by doing that, I stripped my fulfillment process from like 30 hours to 30 minutes to get started as soon as somebody onboarded, and it was the things that actually made the difference. So the first step you want to do here is strip down whatever you're doing, whatever you're offering, to what is the exact thing that people are saying they want when they book sales calls, and the thing that they are actually getting results when they're becoming clients of yours. Okay. The second thing here is that you want to document it through a roadmap. Now, I have a different video on my YouTube where I kind of walk through our client success roadmap. But once you figure out what are the things that you do for your clients, then you want to write it out in either like on an iPad like this or some kind of software like we use Lucidchart, to where you're able to say every single step of the journey from when they pay you money to when they're offboarded as a client. And you want to draw out this roadmap, because what this roadmap does is it allows you to define deliverables. Okay, so now you know, okay, this is what we're doing, not doing, et cetera, et cetera. It also allows you to add a time frame, where most people, when they're doing custom work, it's just like super open-ended. It's unlimited access, whatever else it is. And also it kind of helps you better understand pricing, right? So if you know exactly what they're getting and you're getting, then it will make it easy to say, oh, this makes sense to charge this based on everything that's being involved. And of course, it will also help you sell it, right? Because now whenever somebody's saying, well, what exactly am I getting? Because remember, what is the problem with services? They are intangible. Okay, well, that doesn't work, but they're intangible, right? So by doing it this way, we can actually say, hey, I know you think that this is intangible, but here's exactly what the process is going to be to work with us. So you can create a roadmap step by step of what all of these things are. I always recommend starting it on like a whiteboard or an iPad where you're not constrained on things, and then slowly moving it more and more towards like a Lucidchart, a document where you can say, this is exactly what we do after you've kind of worked out the kinks, okay? The third thing that we're going to do here is we're going to choose our support elements, right? Or support modalities. I'll just put elements to make it simple, okay? So this is going to be where you're essentially deciding which one of these is do-it-yourself. Which one of these is done with you? Which one of these is done for you? which one of these is products and which one of these is services, okay? For example, in the dumbbell one or the Peloton one or the personal training one, when Peloton came out, they were probably like, okay, when I'm creating this Peloton, what are we going to do for the client? I know this sounds silly, but this kind of went probably through their head. They're like, okay, how are we going to productize this service? We definitely want to add some kind of like coaching and training element because people really like that. They pay a lot of money for that. So are we going to have every single person, like have a trainer show up to every person's house and go into their bedroom and work on the Peloton with them? No, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Okay, so like what if instead we kind of pre-recorded those things and we put them on the Peloton and then people could just select, okay, that makes sense. So right, so you're kind of deciding what this looks like before you even but before you actually start delivering results for your clients. You're deciding which one are they doing, which one am I doing, which one are we doing together? And another great example of this, since I'll just drive this point home, is like for us, for our clients, what I've been able to do is after I created this roadmap right here, I was able to essentially figure out, okay, what of these things is super simple that my clients could do and might actually take more time if we do it ourselves. So a great example of this is getting the Facebook ad account set up. 99% of our clients already have it set up, but instead of us like going in there, we're trying to have request access to a business manager, and then their account might get flagged because we're getting access to it and we're from somewhere else. And so instead of doing all these things, we literally have this guide PDF and we show them how to do it in like 6 minutes, how to optimize and set everything up themselves. So that was a super easy thing to do it yourself, and they could do it in just a few minutes. On the other side of things, what we used to do is we say, hey clients, here's how you write a video sales letter, here's how you write ad copy, go write it yourself. Well, the problem with that is clients would get in their head, they didn't know how to do it, they didn't have the same experience we did. So either it would take a long time to create that stuff or it would have produced the same result as if we wrote it. So we decided, okay, well then what if we choose to do some done for you elements? So we'll write the video sales letter for our clients, we'll write the advertising copy for our clients, because we know that if we write it, it takes us just a few minutes and we can bang it out of the park, and it's incredibly valuable to our clients. So in that way, we're choosing based on this roadmap right here, they're doing this, I'm doing this, we're doing this together, et cetera, et cetera. And the fourth and final thing I'll say here is just stay true, okay? Now, this seems a little silly to write out, but even myself, it becomes very enticing. As you're starting to do this and you're scaling, the exact same cycle is going to happen again. You're closing deals, you're getting results, but then this one client comes on, they're like, oh, I've become a client, but you have to do this extra thing for me that's not included in your service offering. And of course, your salesperson or you's like, oh, we could use the cash. All right, okay, we'll just do it for this one client. Then another client hears that client did it, so they want it. Okay, we'll do it for 2 clients. And then all of a sudden, you're right back where you were before to scope creep. So you need to stay true to whatever you've decided is your roadmap, so that you know, okay, all right, this is what we're doing, this is how we're helping clients. The only time this changes is that you should be looking at your roadmap consistently, frequently, quarterly, and make sure that this is still the best way to get results for your clients. But it should be done quarterly. It's not done on a day-by-day, week-by-week basis, or else you're going to spend more time changing everything and updating stuff, which then you're right back to customized services, done for you work, which is what we were trying to get out of in the first place. If you like this video, be sure to also watch this video on our exact client success system we've used to manage over 1,000 high-ticket clients.